my goal was not to go to dialysis, but I finally had got to the end of the road, and I said, I just couldn't do it anymore. So I go to the doctor, and so they put the stent in for me to go start taking dialysis. That was on a Thursday. I was going to start dialysis the following week. That Sunday night, I get a call from Baltimore, and I knew what it was. I got a 410 call, and I knew at midnight, I'm like, oh my gosh. I kind of went into a little bit of a panic, because here's why. They had 4 surgeries of this, and 2 of them did not work. And so basically, I'm going into this thing with a 50-50 shot. I'm leaving my house that night, and I have a 6-year-old.
Welcome to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tenya Eickenberg, and this is a space where transformation begins. Here, we dive deep into energy healing, self-care, and the power of mindset to help you break free from old patterns and design a life that feels aligned, vibrant, and authentically you. True metamorphosis isn't just about change. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. Now, let's get into this week's conversation. Welcome back to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tenya Eickenberg, and today I have with me Ty Gipson. Ty, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to hear about your story and this no options program that you have, because as I was kind of reading through your stuff, it resonated with me because of my theme for this year, but it also kind of hit that trigger of like, oh, what do you mean? I have to do the work. I have to, there's ways to get things done without my excuses. So
yes,
welcome.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm looking forward to visiting with your group.
Awesome. So get us started so I always like to have a little bit of a backstory to how you got to where you decided to start up this program and kind of like where this program manifested from, right? So obviously you have to start with your story, because we often, as coaches and guides, we create things out of things that we went through. So get us started with your story.
I say that all the time, and I'm glad you say that, because, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be sitting, doing podcasts and visiting and telling my story, because, but I tell people all the time, I have a PhD in life experiences, and I just want to share that because I really believe we can help others. Yeah. And so that's kind of where it all goes. And I'll tell you, way back, I grew up in Southeast Texas, way down in Texas, and I at the age of 8 was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes. I was a young diabetic, very active kid, normal boy, had brothers and sisters, and my parents were we were very active. We were always doing stuff, sports and fishing and just all the fun stuff. But we I had such brittle diabetes, and they kept going and battling this for years. So they finally brought me to some specialists in Houston, Texas, and because I had such brittle diabetes. And so at the age of 10, after really battling a lot of just ups and downs, and my mom says there was nights that they took me into the hospital, not even sure if I was going to make it, because it was just blood sugars would go so high, and passing out and all these. It was just a really radical, crazy.
And this was late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, I'm going to tell my age a little bit. It was late 70s. So obviously the technology and the
wasn't there,
was not there yet. So we go to the specialist. At the time, they're working on some research, and I was one that they kind of brought into the program. But what they were doing is they were taking in these chemotherapy syringe pumps and putting insulin in them, and starting to get so that the diabetic could receive insulin throughout the day versus just shots, right? So many shots through. So anyway, the thing was 1 pound 9 ounces. So I always tell people, I ran.
Boy, they come a long way.
They sure have. I mean, it was crazy. It was just like a big brick, that I had on my side. Spent tons of days and like months at a time, sometime in the hospital, just researching, following every step. So obviously a lot of struggles there with diabetes and different meds and trying to regulate this thing. So we're going to fast forward. Over the years, pumps changed. So insulin pumps kind of developed, but they started really defining. And I had different ones throughout. I mean, a lot of these pump companies were all kind of jumping in the game, and so the doctors would try me on different ones, and so I was always trying these new different pumps. So fast forward 30. I'm 30 years old at the time, and I'm feeling really bad. So I go to the doctor. The doctor tells me that I have lost my kidney function.
Mm.
Um, and the doctor said, but here's the problem, Ty. You got such brittle diabetes. We're afraid if we put a kidney in that you're just going to continue to have really just destroy these kidneys, basically.
Right.
And but he said there is a doctor at the University of Maryland in Baltimore, Stephen Bartlett, who is doing research on a dual transplant where they'll do a kidney and a pancreas at the same time.
Wow.
And and it was really cool. So again, kind of this research stage, I feel like, we've been put on this earth for a reason. I think I was for research, but
you were the guinea
anyway,
pig.
I was, and I continue to be, I think, but that was great. So we went to Baltimore, and he said, we got to go find out if you would qualify for this, right? So I go over and I meet, and we do all these tests, do all these things, and sure enough, I qualified. At the time, my mother was 60 years old, and she said, hey, Ty, I've got two kidneys. And I feel like as a mother, one of those is yours. If the doctor says he can use mine, I want to donate my kidney, which I was very, very, very thankful for. So she goes through the tests. She qualified. I mean, everything worked out perfect. She was a good match. And then as you can, as a donors, I have my kidney, but you can't get a pancreas unless it's an organ donor, right?
Right.
So now I'm put on this list for a waiting list so that we could wait for a donor, deceased donors to receive their pancreas. So we get put on this list. We're waiting, and I'm barely trying to get. I get through the days. And I'd go home and go to bed. At lunchtimes, I was trying to continue to work. At lunchtimes, I would take a nap just so I could try to make it through the day, and then go home and go to bed. I was going to bed like 6 o'clock in the evening. So we pushed through, and I finally, because I was told that if I stay off of dialysis, a lot of times you have a better chance of the organs accepting and not rejecting.
Right.
So my goal was not to go to dialysis, but I finally had got to the end of the road, and I said, I just couldn't do it anymore. So we'll go to the doctor, and so they put the stent in for me to go start taking dialysis. That was on a Thursday. I was going to start dialysis the following week. That Sunday night, I get a call from Baltimore, and I knew what it was. I got a 410 call, and I knew at midnight, I'm like, oh my gosh. I kind of went into a little bit of a panic, because here's why. They had 4 surgeries of this, and 2 of them did not work. And so basically I'm going into this thing with a 50-50 shot. I'm leaving my house that night. And I have a 6-year-old. And it really opens your eyes a little bit when you're not sure. One, I didn't know sure I was even going to come back.
Right.
I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what this was going to happen, But the other thing was just I had to make a choice there. To either, because they said, look, you can do the surgery, or you could be on dialysis, and then this is going to be the quality of life, and I didn't want that. I wanted a better life. I wanted a better life that I could spend with my family, my daughter, and I wanted that, right? So I chose to take this risk, and we did. We got to it's just like the movies, we fly over, everybody's rushing, you wait, and then you wait, right? Well, we get there, and so in the surgical room is myself in the middle. We have a team working on the organ, and we have my mother. And I always talk about this because it's always a really very thankful for. I have never met the family of the donor, but I'm very, very, very thankful that they made that choice, because it has changed my life. But But unfortunately, there's always a tragedy, and that's it's a horrible event. But at the same time, there's a small just flicker of of light there that they can take those organs and help others, right? So I'm always very thankful that I was able to receive their organ. So we go through the surgery, 16-hour surgery. I wake up and my mom is sitting beside me. She's doing great. So we got through it very well. I will tell you that first year after that transplant was one of the hardest times of my life, because I was taking 65 pills a day.
Wow.
Um, and a lot of I always laugh because there's like probably 5 or 6 of them was with the anti-rejection meds.
Right.
All the others were just meds to
Deal
protect
with the
from the
symptoms.
side effects and symptoms
Yeah. Yeah.
from the meds. So a lot of medication, and so your body's trying to adapt to having these new organs, and so you're just going through a lot. And they said it's going to be a tough year, and it really was. It was a really hard year. But I'll tell you, after that year, it's kind of opened up, and it was amazing. I mean, I lived a, a beautiful life. I was able, because you think about it, I didn't have diabetes anymore. I
Right.
mean, I didn't have. I mean, I had grown up with
You could
diabetes, so
almost
now,
eat what you wanted and not have to worry about blood sugar spikes, and not
well,
that you
and I got
did,
to tell the story.
but that's
I got to admit, though, I do have to admit, after you brought up a good point. All those years of not being able to eat those cupcakes and that Kool-Aid at the birthday parties,
yeah.
I got to go have a soda and it was the best, Snickers bar. And my doctor told me I couldn't do that too often, but it was
Right.
amazing, but way overrated. I told my mom, I said it was way too sweet, but it was, at least I got to go do it. So I got to experience.
Absolutely, but it's more of like not having
Yeah.
that backpack of
That's right.
fear and
Yes.
just hanging over top of you.
Oh, it was. I woke up and I just felt amazing. But I'll
Yeah.
tell you, the surgery took so long, and this was a really amazing deal. The doctor said as they were sewing up my mother's kidney, it started working, and that caused some difficult. And so, I mean, it was just an amazing story,
Hmm.
in that case. And I'll tell you, all organs don't last forever. So I had that pancreas for 12 years. So I had no diabetes for 12 years. And then my mother's kidney lasted for 20.
Wow.
So, I mean, it really, and I was able to spend do a lot of things. And what I say is because of that person who made that choice to be an organ donor, I was able to get married.
Hmm.
I was able to adopt my second daughter, and I was able to open a business.
Wow.
And I like to encourage people because we all, and that's really what my goal is hopefully I can connect with somebody, one person is,
Yeah.
and it's all worth it. But we all deal with adversity. We all deal with something. And I always try to tell people, whatever that wall looks like, it's worth the climb, because on the other side of it, I'd have never been able to get married, adopt my daughter, all these things. So however high that wall is that we're looking at today that you're facing, whether it's health or relationships or just life in general, it's worth, the fight, because
Yeah.
there is a lot of rewards on the other side of it. But sometimes it's hard to see them when we're in it, and I completely understand that. But I want people to realize it's worth the fight, because it's been amazing to all the things that I've been able to do, and I didn't know if I was even going to make it back. Um, but the story gets better. It gets better. So I lasted, as I said, it lasted for 20 years. My sister, now at 20 years, my kidneys failed again. I got put on dialysis,
Hmm.
which is, and I'll tell you this. I always tell, if you know somebody going through dialysis, pray for them, because that is a hopeless place. That's a hard place for people.
Yeah.
It's just because you think about it, people are in there waiting on organs to find. Hopefully, somebody donates an organ that matches, so they can. And it's just a hard place of people really fighting to
Right.
stay alive. So, but so I was put on dialysis. My sister was a match, so we're excited about that. So we're moving forward, and then right towards the end, they come back and say my sister's kidneys weren't going to work
Viable.
because there was something they had found in,
Yeah.
with filtration. So that got put on halt, and my wife comes through and says, "Hey, Ty, I'm not your blood type, but what I want to do is I want to donate my kidney. In return, somebody will donate one that matches you, and then you'll get moved up to the top." So, because she saw me really declining on this on
Hmm.
dialysis,
Right.
and so she goes, I get a call that day. She's crying, and I'm like, "What is wrong?" And she says, "Ty," she says, "I match you perfectly." And I said, "What?" And so, sure enough, 6 weeks later, I received my wife's kidney.
Wow.
So I I now, and that was in 2019. So for the last 5 years, I have been living with my wife's kidney now. And I tell people every year, I don't know, I don't have enough treasures in the world for Mother's Day for my mom or my
Right.
wife. So
Mother's
I've
Day and your anniversary, you're like, I don't know what to do. I can't top what they gave
I
me.
my mom's given me life twice, and my wife is, so but yes, so um that was has been amazing. But what I want to encourage people, that 6-year-old daughter that I left when I had to go take that first surgery, the coolest thing was last month I got to walk her down the aisle. So
Aw.
I tell people it's worth the fight. And people ask a lot of times, Ty, how did you get through that? What is there something? What did your mind? Did you go into a certain mind? What helped you fight through it? And I always said, I used to say, man, positive thing. You got to be positive. You got to be a positive. And that's such a general statement, right? I mean,
It
it's
is.
such a,
It
and
really
I
is.
always say positive. What does that mean? And so really broke it down into 3 simple steps. I want to share that real quick with you. I always say this, and I want people to, whatever adversity they're going through, I really think this is help. This is help. And I say, step one, I ask myself, am I going to grow or die? And when I say die, I don't mean death. I mean, am I going to let my dreams die, my purpose, my goals in life?
Hmm.
Am I going to just let those die, or am I going to fight for them? And find your why. And that why was my family, my daughter, my kids. That's why. It's my why.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so and that's what we do. And step number 2 is hope or despair. And I always say, we're going to be a positive thinker, or are we going to be that poor, pitiful me? I'm a victim. Why did I get chose to have all these, medical
Why is this
problems? And
happening to me?
why is this happening to me? We can all, it's easy to go there.
Yeah.
And don't go there. Stay positive, find the positive. And then number 3 is humor or drama. And that's how we talk, right? So grow or die is what we do. Hope or despair is how we think. And then humor or drama is how we talk. And if
Hmm.
we do those 3 little things, it gets our mind into a positive state. And so I always say, find that little thing, just the little thing. Remember your why. So think, and then think positive. And then how we talk. How do we go tell people what's going on? Those things, I mean, if you go talk about how, man, I can't believe I had to go through this, and I was on dialysis. I can't believe I'm having to do all of that. Is just negativity
Yeah.
that takes over. And if we find the positive side of that, if we find the humor side of that, and that's the way we talk, then again our mind will fall in place. So these
Right.
are just 3 little steps that I always encourage. It's what we do, think, and talk. What are we doing about it? How are we thinking about it? And how are we talking about
Yeah.
it? And those things will again help our positive thinking. Um, and so that's my story. And I'm sorry I went really long winded on this thing.
No,
But
actually that wasn't really long. So you're
okay. Well,
so
good.
so you're good. So stop putting that out there that your story's long because it's not.
Okay.
That was like 10, 15 minutes. It's not that long.
I just want, but what I want to do is, and I grew up though when my dad and mom taught me just to dust off, right? Get up,
Right.
you're all right, keep that.
Yep.
And so
Walk it off.
I never, until just a couple of years ago, I never wanted to tell my story. I wouldn't share this, and I tell you why. I it wasn't that I didn't want to tell it. It was that because of the way I was raised, and nobody wanted to hear the problems. So, I mean, my business, I had 45, 50 employees, and they didn't even know what I was going through. I would
Mm.
go to dialysis 3 days a week, and then from 4:30 in the morning to 9, and then go to the office and try to be this person that, and what I learned from this was, though, is I went down to a family reunion of my wife's, and she said, it was an extended family, and she said, a lot of them want to hear your story. Would you share it with them? I said, yeah, if they want to hear my problems, I guess, yeah, I'll be glad to. So I tell the story. And on the way home that night, like five of them texted me and said, hey, thank you for sharing. We're going to go sign up to be organ donors.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, how selfish am I if we can simply tell our story and make and possibly save lives?
Yeah.
Um, so, in this world we live in is just it's a hard place. And I really believe uh, that we need to lock arms and put our arms around each other, help each other through these things, because sometimes everybody has a story,
Mm-hmm.
and I think our stories can help others, whether you think it
Absolutely.
or not. So that's why I encourage people. Yes.
Absolutely. And that's why I started this podcast, is because there are so many people out there who are going through similar things, and they think that they're alone,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking for something to grasp onto that's going to help take them out of the way that they're consistently feeling. Whether it's a modality, positive thinking, talk therapy, it's there's so many different things that people can do. And through all of this, you created this no options program. Where did that come from? This like, just do it. Just figure it out, you're gonna do it.
Yeah, and I think my post this morning was, quit complaining and just do it. And that was kind of my, um, I, but it came from, like even a couple things through there, you know, I didn't have an option. I mean, I wanted to live a quality life. I wanted, I wanted that life for my daughter. I used to not even dream with my daughter of that I would ever see her
Yeah.
get married or get, or graduate from high school or college. I never envisioned it because I never thought I would get
Mm-hmm.
there. And so, you know, I wanted people to realize, to take that no option approach. And when I say that, no option is don't give yourself a plan B. Now, there are times we have to fall into those things. I get it. From a mindset, if we can keep our positive thinking, if we can go through these, keep track of where our goal is and what our in picture is, then we can focus on continuing to push through. I always say if we just consider us, don't give yourself an out, you find a way through it.
Right.
And then the other thing was that even in my business, when we started a business, my wife and I had corporate jobs at the time, and this was in '06, we opened up our business, and we both left corporate jobs. And as we know, in '08 is when the bank crisis and all these
Right.
things, but we didn't give ourselves an option. There was a lot of people, a lot of business. We just said, look, we got to find a way to push through. There's no plan B, and we did. And so I go back and I just, as I was going through my story, there was a lot of times where I just didn't give myself options.
Yeah, right, right. You had your mindset on your goal, and that
Yes.
was your only goal.
But I mean, our mind, and you probably can talk to this a lot more than I, but our mind is so powerful.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
and I tell people all the time, it don't cost us you have everybody on this listen, we all have this tool. We all have it. It don't cost us a dime.
Right?
Sometimes we just got to go look in the mirror and make a decision that we're going to make the change.
Yep.
And so I encourage you, again, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life or what situation it is. It's up to you.
Yeah.
It is up to you to make changes. And again, to not just go be a positive thinker, because I do not like that statement.
Right.
But
It's not right. It's not positive toxicity. It's not, don't
yes,
ignore the negative. And my husband said it, and I've been using this quote for everything the last few days was don't ignore the negative, but look for the lack of negativity.
There you go. I love that.
You
I
know,
love that.
you're not
Yeah.
ignoring that awful shit happens.
Yeah.
That you might have to have surgery, you might have to find a new job, you might have to find a new
Yeah.
home. Like all of that stuff can create chaos and frustration and anger and all this other stuff going on around us. But there is always a silver lining.
There is.
You just
There
have
really is.
to want to see it.
And yes, and I love that quote your husband said. That's I may have to steal that one. I like that. But the thing too is I truly believe the obstacles that we go through absolutely equipped us for the next phase down
Yeah,
the road. And I say that,
absolutely.
I used as my parents used to be. My dad was really a kind of that old, Southern Texan that wipe, put a Band-Aid on it, you'll be okay, boy. And confined as hanging on by a thread or whatever. But he was just one of those guys. And at the time, I was really questioning sometimes that approach. But I really think because of the way he raised me as a young kid, it equipped me to get through the path that I had ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we got to look at that and say, you know what? Yes, I know today, like you said, I've got to go find a new job and I got to find, but it's getting you ready for something that's better ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you so
Yeah.
much for coming on. Is there anything that you want the listeners to hear or know that we didn't cover?
No, I mean, I think I said it, but I mean, we live in a tougher world, and I just encourage you to, whatever wall is in front of you, or whatever wall you think is in front of you, that we need to, you have everything you need to get through it, and I want to encourage you to do that. And I have my website. I love helping people. In any form, if I can help one or many, it's and that's my goal. But my website is tygipson.com, and that's GIPSON, tygipson.com. But I mean, and I have my cell phone. I don't. People can if I can help anyone, I'd love to. And I tell a great story. I speak. I do public speaking. So if there's anything of that ever needed, I love that. But I was speaking just not long ago, and there was a lady in the front that I could tell was really, really struggling with the story and the messaging. And afterwards, I was able to finally get over and talk to her. And she said, I have a son that really needs to hear this. And I said, that's all. What can how? And anyway, I was an hour and a half from where I live, and anyway, come to find out, I said, where do you live? They live 15 minutes from where I live.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I was able, I said, can I go have a Coke or a iced tea with your son or lunch? And sure enough, I was able to do that. And I say all that to say, if I can help anybody in any way, I want to do that. And my website has that. It has some ways to get a hold of me through social media. I'm on all the platforms. My Spotify is Ty Gipson, No Option Mindset. And that's on Spotify and Apple and all those good things. And then, obviously the TikTok and all that stuff. I have stuff out there. So please go follow me. And you guys, I really appreciate you having me on, and I hope we can touch somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ty, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every single step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to the life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many listeners. For more tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you give to yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.